People who love Idaho's outdoors are outraged about what some are calling the theft of thousands of acres of public land. Now the Idaho Wildlife Federation says they have proof the gates installed by the billionaire Wilkes brothers are illegal. And one of Idaho's top sheriffs says he thinks the growing conflict will result in people getting killed. 6 on your side, Steve Liebenthal has more on the story in tonight's Idaho Backroads report.
Since the Wilkes brothers started purchasing Idaho forest land, no trespassing signs and orange gates dot the landscape.
So we have 2 separate deeds here.
Through painstaking research, Brian Brooks found deeds dating back to 1922 that say 2 sections of Boise Ridge Road, now gated by the Wilkes Company DF Development, should legally be open to the public forever.
And you are very confident that that's a public road?
Very confident.
Would you go there?
I would not go on that road right now because it is still signed, because the Wilkes brothers still think that it's their property. They can sue me, and even if I win, I may not recover my legal fees, which could cost upwards of $20,000.
Brooks says Idaho's laws against illegally blocking access to public land are nothing more than a slap on the wrists of out-of-state billionaires like the Wilkes brothers.
Say it's they get fined for 50 or $100. Well, they just got exclusive access to 10,000 acres for a year, whereas if you would have had to buy that, that would have been a $10 million property. So it's incredibly lucrative to just block off land and wait to see if you get prosecuted.
Brooks says this is just one of dozens of examples of the Wilkes brothers and others illegally blocking access to private property.
The road by Horse Thief Reservoir, the road to Fish Lake up near New Meadows, the road to Corral Creek Reservoir up in Cascade. There's roads up on the Cabarton, there's roads over by Council, and these are all just the Wilkes'. It's all over the place.
On a recent trip to southeast Idaho, we found signs and a fence blocking access to the Teton River clearly on public land. We alerted the Teton County Sheriff, who investigated and sent Teton County Bridge and Road to remove the signs and the fence. But Brooks says most counties don't have the resources to deal with the rapidly growing number of these cases, and the president of the Idaho Sheriff's Association says under current law, the situation will just get worse.
I think it looks grim. I really do. I think you're setting a dangerous precedent.
Kieran Donahue says this is not just a matter of public access, it's a matter of life and death.
The fact that someone's life can be taken over a simple thing as not knowing that you are on private property, that keeps us up at night.
You're up here.
Donahue is disturbed by scenes like this one, in which an armed security guard working for the Wilkes brothers confronts a private citizen for simply stopping on a road that is legally open to the public.
What gives that private security officer the right to try to enforce something like that? They don't have standing, and yet they're armed, and they're going to be talking to people in the state of Idaho who are armed. There are a lot of people who carry arms and carry guns in this state, and they're just building a crescendo that is going to come to a cataclysmic catastrophe, in my opinion.
Brooks's organization, the Idaho Wildlife Federation, is pushing for legislation that would give citizens the right to sue people who illegally block access to public lands, but Donahue doesn't think that's the solution.
The people who are blocking those roads have a lot more money than the average citizen. And so for the average citizen to go and try to fight that in court civilly, there's no way they're going to have that kind of money.
While Brooks will continue pushing for a civil remedy, he agrees criminal penalties for blocking access to public land should be at least as harsh as the new penalties for trespassing.
So on the 3rd time you're trespassing, it's a $15,000 fine and it's a felony and you can go to jail. Maybe it's time to start looking at those kind of solutions for people like the Wilkes brothers.
Both Brooks and Donahue say they will push for improved legislation during the next session. Steve Liebenthal, 6 on your side.
And in a letter to the Forest Service, DF Development says it may be willing to remove the gates if the Forest Service ensures protection of the private land where Boise Ridge Road runs. We have made repeated attempts to contact the Wilkes brothers. None of our calls has been returned. The battle over water rights between Ada and Elmore counties could come to a head